Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rook with Scott Varilek with Kooima Kooima Varilek. It was a down day in all but the hog market on Thursday. And let's start off talking about this cattle market. We did see a break after making new highs for the move this week, Scott, and talk about kind of the story that kicked the algorithm selling pressure that we started to see already on Wednesday.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, not even the hogs can lead us higher. Hooray, the hogs are higher. So, but yes, cattle and algos. I mean, we've had such a good move on this cattle market. We found ourselves overbought. I think that's kind of the biggest thing. We had the hot cash news that we've been living on, the fat cattle trade, the feeder calf trade, hearing some of those feeder calf prices being record highs. We're back. So all of that was feeling like, hey, this is that fundamental story that got us here. That's back to the front. But as you have those overbought conditions, it just needs a reason to break. And I think as soon as we saw that China delisted Greeley, Colorado, which was 2-week-old news, it just that's when it first made some print. It was an official announcement. Market saw it, ran with it quick. And then once that kicks into the sell side, it picks up very fast. So everybody starts to call and ask around, what's the reason? Why did we just break? And then you kind of find it. Okay, there was an official announcement that did break the market a little bit. So we've had a couple of days of sharp down. We were able to recover a little bit today, feel good about that. And maybe that'll kind of say, hey, we're still not giving up on some of this cash market, as we're only 1 to 2 lower, looks like, in the South so far to start the week.
Yeah. Just to clarify, though, they found traces of ractopamine in some of the beef in that plant, right? And China has banned that.
Yes, that was exactly the reason. And the way I had heard it was in the omasum, so it's even in the stomach portion. So interesting that that's the product that we're looking at there. But yes, it was the ractopamine that they found, and that's not the only plant that they don't take beef from, but it's just the news, I think, that, hey, China does buy some beef, and they are now looking somewhere else. But the good news about the beef industry is the United States, we don't rely completely on export business. We're such a domestic demand market. And we're net importers anyway, especially with the high prices that we have. So if they're going to turn to Australia, that's actually some of the beef we're probably taking here. So maybe it's just kind of crossing it around. So not going to be ultimately, overly worried about that actually long-term over the markets.
In addition to the China news about ractopamine, we've had a good rally. Do you think some of this was end of the month type profit taking?
Yeah, end of the month could be, a little bit of a highlight. And we've had 2 days where we had a lot of commodities getting sold hard. So it's easy to just kind of put that bill, say, end of the month, that's some of the profit taking. But it is also the time of the year that cattle can take a little bit of a break. I mean, it's, your little May rallies that you have in cash during peak demand can usually be met with us heading to, some lower prices to some summer lows. You start to pencil those kind of numbers in. Now, it's a little bit interesting that we know how tight we are. And if we're going to turn the page into another calf crop here, we know those numbers are tighter. It feels like we're going to be that way. It's just going to be the weight that we're going to have to look at. How much weight are we going to put on this next group? We knew we did it on the last group. We're still 36 pounds over a year ago on steer carcasses, and that's something we're going to have to watch. And it's easy, if you have some cattle that are going to be ready anytime, you're not sure when to sell them. You like hearing these low 190s, but when you run your break-even calculator, just throw another 100 pounds on them, and you see that break-even drop $5. So, well, what if I throw another 100 pounds on them? Then all of a sudden it breaks another $4.50. Starts to make sense why you're putting that extra weight on them. And it used to be just so frowned upon. It was, you're going to get discounted. Don't have these big ones. Well, plants are set up for it now. And it's just kind of become more the standard that we're going to make them big. And in a market where we have less numbers, that's what's going to keep the beef production up.
Yeah. Certainly, after a week of record cash trade last week, there were hopes that maybe we could top that this week, and maybe the pullback in the futures has kind of squashed that, but we're still at this big discount here with the futures. So are you encouraged that we'll see that recovery?
It started slowly. The 186 in Kansas is 1 to 2 lower. They started at 187 last week and did get up to 188. So just heard a few rumblings of that. And there's some regional prices that are out there just a little bit higher. If it wasn't for those regionals, it would have been, not as easy to get this cash rally. Wish I would have seen more action from some of the majors here, but Southern Cash, I'll take 186 as an okay. After the last couple of days break that we've had, that's a good sign, because the futures are going to be really tied to that. And I think these futures are what's kind of setting the theme that this cash could slip a little bit, probably pulling us, because we thought, hey, 2 weeks in a row of that, we should be fine again. We're not feeling like we're overrun with numbers. I think we're current enough, even though the weights would say no, we're not. If you're looking to sell cattle, you can get them sold, and you can get them moved pretty quick. So packers are still close to the knife. That's how they've been living, and they're doing a great job at it. They've managed their chain and tighter numbers very well, and that's what they're continuing to do going forward.
So hogs made new lows for the move, then bounced, but is that maybe some end of the month profit taking or unwinding of spreads, or are we putting a bottom in?
I'm not going to say we're putting a bottom in yet here. It's oversold. Could be some of that end of the month, but when those hogs trend, they trend. They make a move and they just stay on it when they get on some of those moves, and that's what they've been doing. You've got an index that we expected cash or product to really take off. Had some decent stories to really try to say this demand's going to be better, but index laying flat at $91 for 2 months is just it's quite a long period of time. And you had such a premium on these summer months. It's hard to look at those summers and say, oh, 96, 97, I better buy some. That's quite a break, and we're oversold, but still quite premium to where that index is and the lack of the performance there. So call it end of the month. I guess that could be part of it. Cattle hog spreads, it's going to be something more in that category than it is some strong bottoming fundamental for me.
And the grains all setting back on Thursday. So, is this topping action, do you think, or are we just removing weather premium? I mean, is the weather rally over?
I think the weather has really taken a shift in my book. There was it's delayed planting. It's raining too much in the spring. There's a lot of ground that's just too wet. And I think we've really turned the page from that. You look at some of these 5-year averages on planting progress, and we're right in that range. We're in there. We heard some of the horror stories. We always usually do, but I think we're starting to realize that we're going to be okay. This crop's getting planted, and I think there's more traders coming to the realization of that. And we can start to say, hey, we're still looking at a 2 to 2.2, over 2 billion bushel ending stock in the corn. And there's still time to get some beans even planted yet now. That I think this rain is going to start to be negative. We start to look at these patterns and these storms coming through, and when they pick their path, they stay on it. And we've got a pretty good chunk of the corn belt been getting quite a bit of moisture. I think we're off to a good start, and that's absolutely the shift for me, that this rain is going to become negative on these grains.
Yeah, and we actually, if it's not able to rally, it's going to be hard for corn to rally, don't you think? Plus the funds, they've turned back to the sell side. They're pushing the short side of the market again, aren't they?
Both of those are spot on. I mean, the wheat had such a significant rally, a sizable rally, that it did pull some of the corn and soybeans up, in my opinion. And now that's taken a 2-day break, maybe we'll find out if this is month end or if we do have some real world issues that are going to keep it propped up. For the meantime here, it's broke pretty good in the last couple of days, giving a little bit of a black eye to the corn and soybeans. So it cannot be the leader. And I think you're seeing some selling pressure from the funds. Part of that rally was also funds covering some shorts. As I saw what's happening in the wheat, that could have been one of the reasons they're doing it. But now that that's trying to roll over, I'm seeing the funds come back in. Looks like they're increasing to some of their shorts on these days that are down, and doing some technical damage here as well.
Yeah, I was going to say we're below key moving averages, a lot of them in the corn market especially, aren't we?
Yeah, we've gotten below anything. If you're tracking anything between the 10 and the 100-day moving average, it's below all of those averages. So we're going to have to start to look for something else. What is it? Some recent lows from somewhere, but it's starting to get a little bit dicey here. And usually it's the middle of June before we're really going to decide if you get to an area that it says it's too dry, whether we're doing any El Nino, La Nina shifts that you're hearing about, if it's going to get dry. It's going to take at least a couple weeks before we would start to trade a longer term forecast that goes into July that says we're going to do some damage to crops. So I don't think you're going to get any help from weather here. So trying to find a bottom of whatever range we're at could be a little bit tough here.
Okay, thanks for joining us. Scott Varilek with Kooima Kooima Varilek. That is Markets Now.